This has included pioneering sustainability reporting awards and being the first international professional accountancy body to examine integrated reporting, as well as the first to publish an integrated report on our own performance. ACCA's purpose compels us to be a force for public good. This means acting responsibly and ensuring we play our part in creating a better world today and for future generations. We believe that the professional accountants are vital to supporting economies to grow and prosper in a sustainable way. Through our strategy to 2025, we actively contribute to a number of the UN SDGs. We work with our global community and partners all over the world to build a strong, ethical profession that delivers value to business and society. And we encourage and support our members to drive sustainable practices through their work. While sustainability isn't a new concept to ACCA, we believe that now, more than ever, it's time for action. The COVID-19 pandemic has created unprecedented economic disruptions, accelerating global problems such as social and income inequality. And as Mark Carney, former governor of the Bank of England and COP26 finance advisor, made clear in this morning's announcement, the accountancy profession is absolutely essential in the fight against climate change. So while we've made a strong start, we plan to keep living up to our purpose and delivering our vision to develop the accountancy profession the world needs. For us, this means responding to the call for a decade of sustainable actions and continuing to work with the global community to ensure a thriving, sustainable future for the profession and the world. The role of green finance and accounting for natural capital, a well-managed business acknowledges that depletion of non-sustainable assets and the downsides of non-sustainable practices. Companies that understand their dependencies on nature are financially outperforming their counterparts in many cases. A report, Climate Action and the Accounting Profession, which we have released ahead of COP26, emphasises this, pointing out that finance professions and green finance can bring an integrated approach that places sustainability at the heart of organisational decision-making, rather than it be an additional consideration. In this way, they can link strategy and governance to data-driven decision-making and rigorous measurements of performance using science-based targets, coherent reporting, and trustworthy assurance of information used by stakeholders. I would now like to introduce our panel and speaker. Ms. Ainur Kobalova is Deputy Director of Department of Climate Policy and Green Technologies, Ministry of Ecology, Geology and Natural Resources.
Dear participant of the conference, dear guest of the side events, let me welcome you on behalf of the Ministry of Ecology, Geology and Natural Resources of the Republic of Kazakhstan. At the side event dedicated to the issue of green investments, I express my gratitude to the organizers of this event. Greening of economy and environmental protection is one of the main principles of the new economic course of the Republic of Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan has adopted national and regulated programs and strategies to create prerequisites for the sustainable development. Our republic became the first country in the Central Asia to create an organizational and legal basis for the transition to green growth through the adoption of a number of legislative documents, including the Environmental Code, the law on support of the use of renewable energy sources, and the concept of transition to a green economy. Renewable energy market in Kazakhstan developing at an impressive pace. Currently, there are 126 renewable energy facilities in the country with a total installed capacity of 1,975 megawatts, which is twice as much as in 2019. The number of renewable energy facilities includes 33 wind, 48 solar, and 40 hydroelectric and 5 bioelectric power plants. New environmental code provides for the introduction of green finance tools. The development of green technology, market and mechanism to stimulate them, in particular, the use of the green loans and green bonds, subsidizing the interest rate and loans issued by second-tier banks to provide business entities for the purpose of implementing green projects, subsidizing the coupon interest rate and on green bonds issued by accordance with the acts of the Astana International Financial Center and included in the center's exchange list. This state support mechanism apply only to specific green projects listed in the green taxonomy and aimed at improving the efficiency of the use of existing natural resources, reducing the level of negative impact on the environment, improving energy efficiency, energy conservation, mitigation of climate change, and adaptation to climate change. I think that these green finance instruments will create a solid foundation for achieving the goals of decarbonization the economy. Our country is open for dialogue and interaction with the international financial institutions to implement green projects and attract green investments. We are ready to exchange the best knowledge, technologies, and methods from all over the world at the sites of the International Center for Green Technologies and Investment Projects and the Astana International Financial Center. In conclusion, I would like to note that only the combined efforts of all countries, the scientific community, and the public can contribute to the fight against climate change and turn challenges into opportunities for sustainable development. Thank you for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you. I would now Thank you. I would now like to introduce Azel Nurakhmatova, who is an advisor at the AIFC Green Finance Center. She has 12 years of work experience in trade, economy and finance, including 5 years in green finance. Azel previously worked at the Central Bank of Kazakhstan and the Ministry of Economy. Azel drafted the regulation on green bonds, which are implemented by the Astana International Exchange. She led work on introducing green finance and green taxonomy in a new environmental legislation. Azel has a degree in international relations from the Lancaster University and is a certified green and sustainable finance professional.
Thank you very much, Evelyn. So, good morning, everyone, and good day. Can you put my slides, please? Yeah, so I represent the AFC Green Finance Center, which is a development institution in Kazakhstan, development institution in the field of green finance. So we have, yeah, just next slide, please. Yeah, next slide, please. Yes, thank you. So our shareholders is Astana International Financial Center Authority and the Eurasian Development Bank, and we operate as a development institution in Kazakhstan and Central Asia in terms of introducing green finance and attracting investment into environmental and social projects in Kazakhstan and Central Asia. We also work in expanding green financial instruments and work with financial regulators, not only on our own jurisdiction, but also with work with jurisdiction of, with financial regulators from other countries. We have licenses on consultative services in green finance and also in legal services. Next slide, please. We have a wide range of partners. They include the multilateral development banks, UN agencies, capacity building, knowledge centers, and financial centers also. We also were a founding member of the FC4S, which is Financial Centers for Sustainability. This is an international network of financial centers who work in development of raising awareness of sustainable finance. Next slide, please. So here you can see our services that we do. Well, first of all, we provide full assistance for potential issuers and investors in terms of issuing green and social bonds. And just recently, we also introduced the sustainability linked bonds, and we will introduce the ESG linked bonds. So the vast variety of different bonds, and we help different kind of issuers, including the quasi-state or national companies and private companies, SMEs and large companies, etc. We also work in the strategic kind of direction, so we can develop the ESG frameworks and drafting sustainable strategies for the companies and for actually government institutions, for those who address to us, and we can help them. We developed together with EBRD our conceptual and strategic documents on how to kind of develop green finance and to become a leader in Central Asia by the year of 2025. And as Eminem also mentioned, we developed the AIX green bond rules, which are based on the best practices, including the CBI taxonomy and ICMA green bond principles. And here you can see also our two subsidiary organizations, the Eurasian Environmental Fund, which has the goal of kind of improving the regulatory framework and in carbon trading mechanism using the AIC platform, because we're a separate jurisdiction, sorry, and we have our own exchange. So we will probably bring, you know, some new kind of ideas and suggestions to how to develop carbon market on the stock exchanges as well. And another subsidiary is the Green Technology Hub, which has the number of services regarding the audit, like environmental or technological audit. Next slide, please. So here you can see our achievements. So we developed the methodology on. Can we go to the next slide, please? So we developed a different range of methodologies on preparation of the external review with regard to green bonds, social bonds, sustainable bonds, etc. And we also support the first issuance of green bond on Astana International Exchange, and we prepared the first external review for the green bond. We also launched the program of reimbursement of the expenses the issuer has with regard to, you know, having the external review for apart from their listing documents. We also introduced the definitions to the new environmental legislation, the definitions of green finance and green taxonomy, and we developed this taxonomy together with the International Center of Green Technologies. So this will be the standard of Kazakhstan in terms of detecting or indicating the green projects and putting the thresholds for each of them, for each categories of them. We also introduced the mechanisms of subsidizing the green bond coupon rate and green loan interest rate through the Environmental Code of Kazakhstan and the Entrepreneurship Development Program. And just recently, just a month ago, we had the first verified green loan in Kazakhstan, and the provider of the loan was our shareholder, Eurasian Development Bank, and the funds raised went to the energy efficiency project. Next slide, please. So here, as we represent the Astana International Financial Center, we have many sister companies such as Astana International Exchange, the Business Connect, the FinTech, the Bureau for Continuous Professional Development. This also the organization that helped to build the financial center in the region, so to say. Next slide, please. And you can see here just the advantages of cooperation through AFC platform, as I already mentioned. So we have the separate legal regime, the English language operating, some tax privileges for financial service providers. Some other companies can also redomicile on AFC platform and get all these benefits. We have the Astana International Exchange, which operates on the basis of NASDAQ. And we also provide financial support and visa support, as I already mentioned. So we can go to the next slide, please. This slide is about our second shareholder, is Eurasian Development Bank, which also provides some green financing. So they launched the program of supporting the green economy projects, not only in Kazakhstan, but also in all other countries of operation of the bank. So 6 countries, including Central Asian countries, and which amounts to almost 500 million USD. You can see here the terms of the project is from 3 to 15 years, which is a very long-term period that project will usually need, to implement for example, the renewable energy project. We can go to the next slide. Here is just introductory slide on sustainable finance, and that we work in terms of introducing ESG financial instruments. And we can skip 2 slides and go to the global sustainable bond market. Yeah, the next one, please. You can see here that according to the climate policy initiative, so about around 6 trillion USD will be needed per year to achieve Paris Agreement's objectives. And you can see here on the table that, how much already issued in total, more than 1 trillion of sustainable bonds. And on the next slide, you can see the numbers on the Kazakhstani green bond market. So it was launched in August 2020 and already reached 100 million USD. And you can see on the top, on the bottom right, the issuers and the categories. So it includes the green bonds and social bonds by Eurasian Development Bank, by the Damu Entrepreneurship Development Fund and Asian Development Bank. And we can see here, so it's not only on Astana International Exchange, but also on Kazakhstan Stock Exchange. So we kind of try to replicate the successful experience to Kazakhstan and then scale up to Central Asia. And currently we work with, for example, Kyrgyz Association of the commercial banks, also in this direction. We can skip the following slide. Yeah. This is just the green bond market, that the use of proceeds went to, you can see the energy production, the building and the transport. So it's clean transport, energy efficiency in buildings, and renewable energy production, and the funds raised from the green bonds. We can go to the next slide, please. Yeah, here is just some benefits of green bonds, and I don't need to say more words than you can see here on the slide. And we can go to the next one, please. Next slide, please. So on the next slide, yeah, you can see what help we provide. So we work both with issuers and with the trading platform and with investors. So trying to, match everyone on our just a one-stop shop and match everyone on one platform. So we prepare internal documents and company policies, such as ESG policies, as I mentioned before, and the Green Finance Framework, for example. We also prepare an external review for the bonds. We provide some financial legal consulting on a very voluntary basis, and we ensure the listing on our sister organization, which is Astana International Exchange, and we also do the post-issuance reporting. And here I can only stress that investors currently in Kazakhstani market are represented by the multi-development banks, because they have the local currency portfolio, and this is a bit easier for them rather than international investors to participate in Kazakhstani bond market. We can go to the next slide. This is just the AX green bond rules that were adopted, the taxonomy was adopted here from the ICMA ICMA green bond principles. And next slide, please. And we recently became a regional chapter of the Green Investment Principles for the Belt and Road Initiative. So we work, as I already mentioned, with the Central Asian financial institutions and with the regulators in terms of implementing green investment principles and introducing the ESG framework, including understanding the ESG risks and the risk management, enhancing communication and using the green finance instruments, and also building capacity through the collective action. And the next slide, please. Here on AAC platform, we're also working on introducing the ESG disclosure for the large companies. This will be a voluntary disclosure for a short-term period, and after 3 years, we are striving to introduce a mandatory disclosure for the companies. And we also submitted our application to the Green Climate Fund, and we will hopefully work together with the International Center for Green Technologies, also introducing on ES, environment and social risk management for financial regulators. So they will then spread it to the commercial banks. And the last slide, please. So on the last slide, I just wanted to mention that we're #1 in the global Green Finance Index among Central Asian and Eastern Europe countries. And we entered the index this year in April, ranking number 56 in the world. And currently, just recently in October, we moved upper 5 positions. So we're still #1 in Central Asia and Eastern Europe. So thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you. I'd like to introduce Gauhar Buribeva, who's chairman of the management board and a member of the board of directors of the Damu Enterpriseship Development Fund. She previously worked in a number of national companies, the Development Bank of Kazakhstan and a private bank. She has degrees in law and finance from the national universities and a master's degree in business management from the London College of UCK.
Thank you. Уважаемые дамы и господа, позвольте поблагодарить за приглашение, возможность предоставить информацию о мерах поддержки малого и среднего бизнеса и в целом зеленых проектов в рамках деятельности Фонда развития предпринимательства ДАМУ. Слайды, если можно. Следующий. Следующий слайд. Да. Система поддержки малого и среднего бизнеса в Казахстане включает широкий спектр организаций и инструментов, и фонд ДАМУ является частью этой системы. И его основной функцией является финансовая поддержка малого и среднего бизнеса. Он был создан в соответствии с постановлением правительства Республики Казахстан в 1997 году. Миссией фонда ДАМУ является активная роль в устойчивом развитии микро, малого и среднего предпринимательства в Казахстане посредством реализации комплексных и эффективных инструментов поддержки. На сегодняшний день фонд ДАМУ использует собственную разветвленную филиальную сеть, оказывает финансовые и нефинансовые меры поддержки предпринимателям как операторов государственных программ поддержки. В текущем году S&P Global Ratings повысил кредитный рейтинг фонда ДАМУ до уровня суверенный BBB- с прогнозом стабильный. Следующий слайд. Фонд ДАМУ в целом... Можно следующий слайд, пожалуйста?
Слайды можно менять?
Да, слайды, техническая неполадка, по-моему. Фонд ДАМУ оказывает поддержку малому и среднему бизнесу по 4 основным направлениям. Это первое — субсидирование ставки вознаграждения по кредитам. Второе – это гарантирование по кредитам в случае отсутствия залогового обеспечения, льготное кредитование, которое мы оказываем через наших партнеров. Это банки второго уровня, лизинговые компании, микрофинансовые организации. И также последнее – это обучение и сопровождение наших предпринимателей. На сегодня фонд уже поддержал свыше 153 тысяч проектов на общую сумму 20 миллиардов долларов США. Следующий слайд. Здесь мы расскажем о применении ЦУР в фонде. Фонд руководствуется нормативными документами, соответствующими ESG-стандартам и целям ООН в области устойчивого развития. С 2013 по 2021 год фонд разработал и утвердил 6 политик, которые определяют экологические, социальные и управленческие стандарты. Это первая политика в области устойчивого развития, экологической и социальной политики, далее политика в области зеленых облигаций и ряд других документов, связанных с вопросами ESG. Таким образом, программы фонда ДОМУ в рамках инструментов поддержки МСБ содействуют сохранению и созданию новых рабочих мест, расширению доступа к финансированию, гендерному равенству, созданию инфраструктуры, а также поддержке использования ВИА и энергоэффективных технологий. Следующий слайд, если можно. Следующий слайд у нас информация по поддержке зеленых проектов. Фонд ДОМУ в рамках своей деятельности руководствуется основными направлениями государственной экономической политики в сфере развития МСБ и повышения уровня благосостояния населения, а также другими задачами, поставленными президентом и правительством Республики Казахстан. Фонд поддерживает инициативы страны по переходу к зеленой экономике и борьбе с изменением климата. Так, в 2010 году осуществился запуск государственной программы поддержки и развития бизнеса «Дорожная карта бизнеса 2025». На сегодняшний день она продлена до 2025 года. Цель программы – это обеспечение устойчивого и сбалансированного роста регионального предпринимательства, в том числе зеленые проекты, а также поддержание действующих и создание новых постоянных рабочих мест. В 2017 году фонд начал сотрудничество с ПРООН и заключил соглашение «Устойчивые города для низкоуглеродного развития в Казахстане». И уже в 2020 году между фондом ДОМУ и ПРООН было заключено соглашение по снижению рисков инвестирования в возобновляемые источники энергии. В 2021 году в государственную программу «Дорожная карта бизнеса 2025» внесены дополнения в части зеленой таксономии. В результате проведенной работы всего поддержано на сегодня у нас 118 зеленых проектов на сумму кредитов 321 миллион долларов США. Следующий слайд. Как я ранее говорила, у нас есть 3 основных направления по зеленому финансированию. Это первая программа «Дорожная карта бизнеса 2025». В рамках 88 проектов на сумму 315 миллионов долларов США. Следующая программа – это у нас ПРООН ГЭФ. Сотрудничество ООН – это устойчивые города для низкоуглеродного развития в Казахстане. Оно направлено на поддержку МСБ по инструменту субсидирования ставки вознаграждения и основного кредита проектов в области энергоэффективности городской инфраструктуры. Также программа ПРООН ВИА, она направлена на поддержку МСБ по инструменту субсидирования ставки вознаграждения и субсидирование части основного кредита проектов в области ВИА, а также финансирование зеленых проектов в области ВИА. Следующий. Выпуск зеленых облигаций. В августе 2020 года фонд ДОМУ при поддержке ПРООН осуществил дебютное размещение зеленых облигаций на бирже Международного финансового центра Астана для дальнейшего кредитования проектов МСБ, реализуемых с целью внедрения технологий возобновляемых источников энергии. Привлеченные за счет выпуска зеленых облигаций средства были направлены на финансирование строительства солнечной электростанции в Туркестанской области. Данный выпуск был осуществлен в соответствии с требованием International Capital Market Association. Также за успешное размещение зеленых облигаций фонд ДОМУ получил награду «Пионер зеленого рынка» на 6-й ежегодной церемонии вручения международной премии Climate Bonds Awards 2021 и от Climate Bonds Initiative. Следующее. Здесь мы хотели бы также вашему вниманию предоставить примеры успешных поддержанных проектов фондом ДОМУ. Это вот первый проект модернизации эксплуатации системы освещения здания административно-технологического комплекса транспорта в городе Нур-Султан. Проект был осуществлен компанией ТО LED System Media. Она стоит достаточно недорого, 80 тысяч долларов, и кредит выдан под 14,5% годовых, из которых фонд субсидировал 10% в течение 2 лет. Эффект от такого проекта значительный. Годовое потребление энергии сократилось на 52%, объем выброса углекислого газа сократился на 3077 тонн за 6 лет. Также фонд ДАМУ поддержал проект строительства локальной котельной в секторе городского теплоснабжения в городе Караганда. Строение послужило заменой старой котельной 1960 года. Проект осуществлен ТО «Корнет». Сумма кредита составила 181 тысяч долларов США, ставка 14,5, опять-таки также 10% ставки субсидировал фонд ДАМУ в течение 3 лет. И в результате осуществления проекта сумма затрат на топливо сократилась в 2 раза, объем выброса углекислого газа сократился на 3000 тонн в год. Также мы поддерживаем и проекты в сфере ВИА. Это у нас есть проект, реализованный в Атраусской области, общей мощностью 52 мегаватт. Фонд субсидировал также 8% из 14 годовых владельцу ТО «Ветроэнерготехнологии». Благодаря использованию энергии ветра данный проект позволил сократить выбросы парниковых газов в атмосферу на 80 тысяч тонн за 2020 год. Еще один из проектов, поддержанных фондом ДАМУ, связан с заменой установкой энергосберегающих ламп в Кустанайской области. Заемщику выдан займ в размере 165 тысяч долларов, и также эффект от перехода на энергосберегающее освещение оценен в 60% экономии затрат на электроэнергию и сокращение выбросов СО2 на 254 тонны в год. Следующий слайд, 10-й, еще можно. Да. В рамках продвижения идеи разумного управления организацией, которая направлена на снижение негативного воздействия на окружающую среду посредством рационального использования, фонд ДАМУ реализует концепцию «Зеленый офис». В офисах фонда ДАМУ установлены специальные боксы для сортировки отходов и осуществляется раздельный вывоз отходов и материалов в центре переработки сырья. Потребление электроэнергии на внутренние нужды уменьшилось на 27% в 2019 году и на 15% в 2020 году в связи с переходом на энергосберегающие технологии. Также автоматизация процессов позволила фонду принимать все заявки на гарантирование и субсидирование в режиме онлайн и привела к сокращению бумажного документооборота. На сегодня у нас все бизнес-процессы фонда автоматизированы на 94%. Все заявки по инструментам господдержки принимаются онлайн. Эта доля составляет 97%. Следующий слайд. Задачи по достижению целей КОП-26. С целью внесения вклада в достижение общей цели в отношении борьбы с изменением климата и адаптации к нему, исполнение обязательств Парижского соглашения Республики Казахстан по ограничению роста глобальной температуры, а также обеспечению нулевых выбросов углекислого газа, фонд ДАМУ поощряет инвестиции в ВИА. С этой целью фонд ДАМУ планирует продолжить работу по привлечению средств от международных финансовых институтов для поддержки зеленых проектов и реализует выпуск зеленых облигаций. Мы также планируем поддержать переход на электромобили посредством оказания мер господдержки через лизинговые компании. Следующий слайд. Дальнейшие планы фонда. Фонд планирует интегрировать принципы ЦУР во все сферы своей деятельности и реализовать ряд новых проектов по финансированию устойчивого развития малого и среднего бизнеса. Мы планируем продолжать работу по привлечению средств от международных финансовых институтов, получить ESG-рейтинг от ведущего международного рейтингового агентства, внести изменения в государственные программы в части усиления поддержки зеленых проектов МСБ. В целом фонд ДАМУ намерен внести свой вклад в реализацию национального плана мероприятий по продвижению партнерства «Зеленый мост» на 2021-2024 года, доведение доли ВИА в энергобалансе страны до 15% к 2030 году и достижение углеродной нейтральности в стране к 2060 году. Спасибо за внимание.
Thank you. Online, we have Oleg Khomolov, who is an international technical advisor to joint projects of the United Nations Development Programme, the Global Environment Facility, and the Government of the Republic of Kazakhstan. We only have under 10 minutes left to present.
Hello, I understand the time limit. I will try to be very short. My presentation, I will switch it on in a minute. It's focused on the experience of the UNDP in developing the range of financial instruments for supporting green development of Kazakhstan. Do you see my screen?
Да, все видно.
Thank you. The UNDP started working in Kazakhstan with the government since 2004, based on project approach. And most recently, we've built a very strong partnership with the MU Fund to pilot the green financial instruments, a range of, and due to great capacity of the MU Fund and due to the political will to implement such instruments, I believe that this cooperation has a great future. And until now, more than 90 different pilot initiatives were implemented. The key challenges of Kazakhstan in the area of reducing the greenhouse gases emissions is the obsolete infrastructure. The energy sector is the largest source of greenhouse gases emissions in Kazakhstan. It's about 80%. And on the demand side, about 69% of the end use of energy is direct burning of fossil fuels. And one of the greatest challenges in Kazakhstan is obsolete infrastructure and huge losses of energy in the grids and in the district heating networks. In some regions, it may account to approximately one third of the losses of energy. And this is a challenge to be overcome in the nearest years. The average consumption of energy in buildings is about 270 kilowatts per square meter, which is a lot. And more than 60% of the buildings in Kazakhstan were built more than 25 years ago, and one third of the buildings is older than 50 years. And the existing management system of the buildings, the existing system of tariffs is not really incentivizing the energy savings. And one more difficulty to work on energy savings in Kazakhstan is low tariffs on energy. Most recently, due to the political will of the leadership of the country, this is starting to be changed little by little, and we hope it will be changing more rapidly in the nearest future. The activity of the UNDP projects traditionally targets three levels of the organization of the society. It's the regulatory level, the level of laws, the level of bylaws, the level of regulations, the rules of the game. The second level is the institutional level. It's the institutions that implement these changes, that actually implement the policies, and that have to have the related functions, the related capabilities to implement such regulations in a good way. And the practices level is the third level. It's the level of pilot projects, tests, experiments, manuals, handbooks, trainings. And the UNDP projects are active at all three levels. That is, there are suggestions to change the legislation, different recommendations. There are capacity building activities and recommendations to build the new institutions or upgrade the existing ones. And the practices level is the level of pilots. I will tell a bit in more detail about two projects I already mentioned. The nationally appropriate mitigation actions. That's another name of the project is Sustainable Cities. That was mentioned by Ms. Borbaeva as the partner. And the other is the risk in renewable energy investment that is also working with the MU Foundation. These two projects are operating right now, and they're actually testing the models of different financial models of support for the renewable energy and energy efficiency investments. One of such model is the ESCOs, the energy efficiency oriented companies. that are still rare in Kazakhstan. ESCOs is a sort of a business which actually is targeting raising energy efficiency of somebody else's assets, so like buildings, and gets paid out of the savings that result from that. The first ESCOs in Kazakhstan were found by the UNDP GEF projects removing barriers to energy efficiency in 2009. And since then, there were several pilot projects implemented by the projects of the UNDP in Kazakhstan with the ESCOs. And actually, this sort of activity was brought to light by the UNDP, and it was institutionalized in the law on energy conservation and energy efficiency in 2012 with the inputs by the UNDP. But there's still some issues in the way of development of the ESCO sector in Kazakhstan. The biggest issue is that ESCOs are missing from the public procurement regulation and the budget code. And that is a barrier in the way of cooperation between ESCOs and the public institutions or some entities like schools, like universities, because ESCOs are not spelled in the public procurement law. And because of that, to overcome that barrier, there were other models developed, other institutional models developed by the UNDP projects, that is the public-private partnerships and trust management models that help to overcome that barrier and help to cooperate, to build cooperation between ESCOs and the institutions like schools and hospitals, etc. ESCOs are active in the private sector, and ESCOs are active with the communities of the homeowners in Kazakhstan. And the projects by the UNDP actually implemented a few pilots in the residential sector, and the residential sector is a very big one, and it's the energy efficiency of that is very low, and this is a very promising sector. ESCOs are investing long-term in somebody else's assets, and the issue is that ESCOs only have the rights to the future cash flows that result from the savings of the energy, and that is they don't have collaterals, and they need funding, they need guarantees, and cooperation with the MU is very valuable in this respect, because one of the products by the MU is providing the loan guarantees. And finally, this political will in Kazakhstan to decarbonize, and it is expected that the tariffs on energy will get higher in the nearest future. And this will really help ESCO sector to develop in the nearest future, especially in the residential sector. And one of the achievements of the projects of the UNDP is that the sector is alive, and the skills, the experience is accumulated, and the sector is the ESCO sector is prepared to take over in the nearest future to really work hard and to a large scale to improve the energy efficiency of the buildings in Kazakhstan. One more achievements of the projects is that's the DRE project, the risk renewable energy investment, is the first case of the site-specific auction for the renewable energy large-scale project. It was implemented in November 19. The site-specific auction, the essence of the auction is that there is a site prepared for building of a renewable energy facility, where the investor has all documents ready, everything is prepared, and it is only the only thing left is for the investor to invest and build the actual power plant. For example, a solar power plant or a windmill. This scheme is really very successful because it is convenient and it is suitable for all stakeholders. It reduces the risk for the investors. It is convenient for the grid company. It is convenient for the public, because the essence of the auction is that the winning investor has to offer the lowest price for the kilowatt of the renewable energy. At the end of the auction, the investor concludes a power purchasing agreement with the grid company, initially for the 15 years and at present for 20 years. And this agreement is a good security that replaces a collateral, and it facilitates borrowing from the banks, and it facilitates funding for such projects. And the results of the first auction are visible here. The price of the kilowatt was falling almost 2 times. And one more feature of the auctions is that the investors pay for the package of documents prepared, and this makes the system sustainable because this payment is used to prepare more auctions. The first green bonds issuance was already mentioned a few times, and I just have to really thank AIFC, because the AIFC provided most services for free for the first pilot issuance. And of course, Damu is the main hero of this issuance, because this were the bonds by Damu issued in August 2020 in national currency, which is important. And the size of the issuance was pretty small. It was about $500,000, but it somehow it paved the way for more issuances by other institutions. The proceeds were used to on-lend to commercial banks. They were taking the lending risks, and actually a solar power plant was funded by the proceeds of this issuance, pilot one. And Damu received the annual climate bonds award in 2021 for the pioneering issuance of the green bonds in Kazakhstan. Finally, the issue to organize green bonds issuances in Kazakhstan is to find the users of the funds. Actually, the largest part of the work is not visible. It's to find someone who will use the funds, some final user, for example, an investor who is building a solar power plant. And here is the scheme, how subsidizing of the funds work. Subsidizing was the subsidy funds were provided by the UNDP project, DRE, and it was covering the cost of coupons, 11.75% per year. After that, Damu on-lent the soft loans to the banks, and banks already took the lending risks and added the margin, and they were on-lending to the green projects. This scheme is pretty stable and reliable. I think it will be reused in the nearest future. It is already institutionalized. Then one more instrument that was piloted by the UNDP Sustainable Cities projects is the factoring for the residential sector in Kazakhstan. The factoring is purchasing of the future cash flows of an ESCO. And as I mentioned before, ESCOs really badly need loans because they invest long-term, and they cannot take loans because they invest in somebody else's assets and they do not have good collaterals. And the market, the potential market is really huge. It's around 300,000 of such buildings, residential multi-apartment buildings in Kazakhstan. And for that, the factoring instrument could be a very good solution. And the UNDP projects piloted that from the beginning to the end on the market terms, and proved that under the current legislation in Kazakhstan, this scheme will work. I will skip a couple of slides, and this is the final slide. The continuum where I placed all types of support that was piloted or planned to be piloted by the UNDP projects. And this is actually two issues or two barriers that are addressed. One is accessibility of funding. That is the issue of missing collaterals or reluctance of the banks to lend money. And the other is cost of funding. That's high interest rates. Factoring is, for example, resolving the issue of accessibility because of ESCOs like collateral, and the loan subsidies, the loan interest subsidies, loan principal subsidies are reducing the barrier of affordability. That is the high cost of funding. And with this toolbox, it is the outlook for the future is pretty bright, because all those instruments, most of those instruments were piloted with Damu, and Damu is a very stable institution that can take over and reuse this instrument in future. And the UNDP projects actually are still working on new, more sophisticated instruments to support the green transition of the country. Thank you.
Thank you. That wraps up today's session. Thank you for everyone that's attended in person and online. And thank you all to the ladies that appeared and Oleg online. Thank you.